You know, we know that most people who develop COVID-19 experience only mild symptoms, but new WHO data came out just yesterday to remind us that 15% develop severe disease, 5% critical disease, meaning they're on a ventilator in an ICU. And our next guest falls into that category. His name is Giuliano Biagioni. He's just 36 years old. He's with us tonight from Montreal. Hello, Giuliano.
Hi, how are you?
I'm really glad to see you. You know, I was expecting to speak to you from your hospital bed, but here you are. You've just been discharged. How does it feel to be home?
Feels amazing. Being at the hospital for such a long time and by yourself because you're not allowed visitors really takes a toll on you at some point. So I'm really happy I'm back home. I eat like home food and be with my girlfriend and my things. It's really helps with the recovery for sure.
Isn't that fantastic? When you said you're in the hospital for some time, weeks and weeks, you contracted coronavirus when you were on a trip to Maarten back in mid-March. And when you got home, I know you became very ill very fast. What were your symptoms? How did they progress?
First symptoms were pretty like flu-like symptoms, mild. But then as the days went by, it went worse and worse and worse. At some point, the fever was out of control. I was almost at 40. I couldn't like handle myself properly. I couldn't walk properly, and then my breathing became really problematic. So we decided to call 911. Well, first of all, we called 811 to get more information if we should go there or not. And then they told us to definitely call 911. So I did go to the hospital. They discharged me there the next morning because I had only had a pneumonia, even though I was positive for COVID. I went back home. My girlfriend saw me and she was like, "You look like miserable right now." Yes. I stayed home for that night, and the next morning I couldn't breathe like at all. So we called 911 again, and then I stayed 2 days in the ICU, and then they put me on a respirator for 6 days, and then I did some blood clot in my lungs. So I went back to the ICU for another 4 or 5 days. Then I went back to the regular room for another 4 days.
My God, what an ordeal. But tell me about that moment when you go to hospital and we hear from the doctors that they are going to put you on a ventilator. What was that moment like?
To be honest with you, it wasn't that bad because I was so much in pain. I was so much in distress. I was so tired and exhausted from everything that happened in the last week because I spent like a whole week at home being really sick. So at that point I was like, please just help me, just like do anything. And to be honest with you, being out of it like in a coma, I was like, this sounds great because I'm not gonna feel the fever. I'm not gonna feel the pain for a while. So and I might even wake up better. I might die, but at that point it was really, you know, desperate measures. So I was like, just do what you have to do.
But that point, I might die. I mean, the vast majority of people, Giuliano, who do go on to a ventilator do, in fact, pass away. They don't survive. What did doctors tell you about how close you were to death and why you were able to pull through?
They don't tell you because they don't want you to panic, I guess. They always do the same thing. They're going to tell you what's going on, what's happening right now, what's going to happen next, and the risks related to it. But they always put you in like in a confidence place where you know you're at the right place with the right people and they're doing their best. So at that point, if it's not working, nothing's gonna work, right? So I didn't feel like a stress about it. I was very calm, very exhausted, very tired, and we knew we had to do something big to make it happen.
Well, it's happened, and we're certainly glad to see you tonight, as strong as you sound, and look to us. Continued recovery, Giuliano, and thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you so much for calling.